Good morning, Miramar. I get the pleasure, I should say, of interviewing Commissioner Maxwell B. Chambers this morning. And we have this special segment because June is coming up and it is Caribbean American Heritage Month. And so, good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Fleming. How are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Good.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about just what you have planned for Caribbean American Heritage Month. But before we actually get into the events, tell us a little bit about yourself and why is this so special and important to you?
Well, this is special and important. Of course, my heritage is from Jamaica, the Caribbean island. So I was born in Jamaica and then migrated here, way of my mother who first came here and were able to file for us to move to this country. So it's, and especially representing Miramar, which is such a vast, diverse community with a lot of Caribbean nationals from different parts of the Caribbean, you know, Trinidad, Tobago, Guyana, Haiti, and so forth, Jamaica. So
well, we can't forget St. Thomas.
St. Thomas, Bahamas.
My husband's from St. Thomas.
Bahamas.
So yeah, Bahamas.
So forth.
So what are some of the things that you want to emphasize and you want people to know and you want people to partake in as it relates to how we celebrate our Caribbean heritage? Well,
we want people to know that here in the City of Miramar, we celebrate Caribbean American Heritage Month, and we always have a nice free event. It's a get-together per se, so people can come on out. It's safe, it's free, it's fun. You could bring the children, and you could enjoy music at our park at Shirley Branca, where we're going to have this event. So people want to know that in Miramar we do throw a great party. So
great. So I think it's on June 8th.
June 8th.
Right.
June
so. 8th. There you have it, guys. On June 8th, we want you all to come out and join the festivities. We're going to have lots of food, lots of fun. And you heard the commissioner say he's from Jamaica, so I know all the islands have great food, but mine happens to be from Jamaica, so I know the food's going to be great.
Well, we're going to have great food. We're going to have a Spanish performer. Trinidad, like Calypso and Soca.
So a mini carnival.
Right, we're going to have the mini carnival. We're going to have Haitian music, and we're going to have Jamaican music, of course. So it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. And this is June 8th at our park in Historic Miramar, Shirley Branca, 6900 Miramar Parkway. For those of you who are familiar with the area, it's just right off the Turnpike and Miramar Parkway. It's a beautiful park that's recently remodeled. It's a nice bunshell, grassy area. We're going to have chairs for the older folks, and then you could bring a blanket, you could bring a chair and relax and enjoy some music and some good Caribbean food.
Awesome. So that's on June 8th. Let's make sure we get out and celebrate. So there's something else that we were talking about before we got started that I'm actually very excited about that will be happening in the month of June as well, and that is the Free Citizenship Drive.
Right. The Citizenship Drive we've done every year, and this year we're doing it in June 22nd. And it's a Saturday, and this will be held at the Vernon Artgrave Youth Enrichment Center. And this is located right behind this park, Shirley Branca Park. So what we do, we help those people who have qualified for citizenship. They have their green card for 5 years or more, and they want to apply for the citizenship. I partner with Jamaican American Bar Association and the Florida Immigration Coalition out of Miami. So what we do, everybody volunteer. So it's just a completely volunteer team. And anyone want to come on out and volunteer, please do so. So we help folks to fill out the application for their citizenship. And not only that, we also help folks to see if they qualify for the fee waiver from the federal government, which is another $750. And oftentimes most people don't know that they qualify based on their income. Last year we have over 30 people who were qualified for fee waiver, did not have to pay a red cent.
So the fee is $750?
To the federal government. Right,
so this is amazing because if you qualify, that's $750 that you won't have to pay, and you get help with doing something that, you know, we all know how important it is. If you're here and you weren't born here, you came here because it's the land of opportunity, and so this is a great opportunity.
And to have attorney get up on a Saturday, come out their bed, volunteer, to assist people with their citizenship, that speak volumes. So
basically, don't embarrass you.
Come on out. And the good thing is, it doesn't matter where you live.
Right.
We don't care where you live. Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, New York, New Jersey. You could come down, and we will help you, assist you to fill out those applications. And when you walk away that day, you have an envelope to drop in the mail.
I love
That's
it.
how efficient we are. We take our time and help you through the whole process. And when you leave, you have an envelope that you just drop it in the mail.
How many years have you been doing this drive?
We've been doing this now for the last 3 years.
Okay,
So,
amazing.
right, so it's a wonderful thing. And this is going to happen June 22nd. We start at 10 a.m. to 2
Okay.
p.m. So we have a cutoff at 2 p.m. You have to be in the door because it takes a while to fill out all the rest of the applications. So we're there until 5, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
But we stop taking people in the door at 2. So you
Okay.
just need to get there by 2.
By 2 o'clock.
From 10 to 2.
From 10 to 2.
Right.
So
And
what
of
about
course-
people that will get there early? Because you know this crowd will get there early. So
Right.
you have
So
people there early.
if you need to go to work later, you come early.
Okay.
Come at 10. You will be in the door, and then you get your paperwork sorted out early.
Okay.
And just make sure you bring your green card, your Social Security, your tax return, and we can assist you. And if needed to, you want to call us. My office number is 954-602-3154. Our 954-602-3157. And I'm going to give you the number for the Immigration Coalition. Should you have any question, it's 1-888-600-5762. That's 1-888-600-5762. And that's the Immigration Coalition out of Miami. They bring everything up and we set up and we have all the paperwork and we get them going
This
and
is
get them out the
amazing.
door, drop the envelope in the mail and wait for their citizenship. Sometime they get answers in 6 months or
That's
maybe a year.
amazing. That is amazing. So while we have you here, what are some of the reasons you think people wouldn't show up so we can help, get through all of that and make sure people come?
They don't have the information.
Okay.
They sitting at home, they're thinking about the $750, they thinking about filling out the paperwork, they got to pay an attorney to help them fill out the
And
paperwork.
you have it all there for
They
them.
have it all there for free. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't you show up to
Yeah.
get this free work done for you
Right.
without, I think to do paperwork, some attorneys between $500 and $1,000 just to fill
Yeah.
out the paperwork.
This is great.
And in addition, the $750 to the federal government. If you can get all of that done for free, why not? I mean,
And I love
it's
that.
a win-win situation.
Right. I love that you're extending it beyond Miramar. It's for anyone that comes that are interested.
And with the climate that we are in now, you want to go ahead and get your citizenship because
Right.
something happened, God forbid, and then you get deported out of the country, and
Right.
you don't want that to happen to
Right.
anyone who have the opportunity to apply for their citizenship.
And really have already been making an impact and a difference. So.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. So if you're watching this, please share this information on your social media pages with your friends, with your family, anyone that might be interested in taking advantage of this great opportunity. And we'd love to have you be a part of this as well. Is there anything you'd like to leave the viewers with before we
As always, my resident in Miramar can reach out to my office in any situation they have any difficulty. Please, I do have my water initiative. If someone having a hard time, fall behind with their water bill, they want to reach out to me so I can assist them in any way that I can. It's every circumstance is different, but we want to take a look and see what's happening. See if we can
Right.
help you to get back on track and get keep your water on in your home. And as usual, you could reach me in my office at 954-602-3157. So.
Well, I love it. You're just a giver and a helper. And I said to you before, every time I see you, you're always so pleasant and you're always so inviting. So thank you. And it's been absolutely a pleasure.
And thank you so
talking
much.
with
It's
you.
a pleasure talking with you this morning.
Awesome. So you heard it, Miramar. Let's come out on June 8th. And let's also make sure we come out on June 22nd. That's it for now. Have a great day, Miramar. Good morning, Miramar, and welcome to the May edition of Beyond Boundaries. Today, I get the honor and pleasure of speaking with and talking with Ms. Carolyn Jackson, who is the Executive Director for the Executive Director of Human Resources, I should say, for the FIU Foundation. So, good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm really, really excited because we get the opportunity to do something that I think is a lot of fun, and that is to work with the people of every organization or to impact the work that people do in every organization.
Absolutely.
And so I want to talk to you about so many things. I know the segment is not that long, but one of the things that has been pressing on my mind, I posted something on social media the other day. I was actually writing an article, and I posed this question of people being unfulfilled, I made a statement about a statistic of people being unfulfilled in their work, and that statistic was about 90% of people are unfulfilled in their work. And so I want to unpack that a bit with you, because I know if anybody can add to this conversation, it's you. But before we actually get into that, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and why this is your work of choice.
Okay, so as Dr. Fleming introduced me, my name is Carolyn Jackson. I have been with Florida International University for almost 18 years now.
Wow.
It's been a long time, but the time has passed by quickly, and I actually fell into this line of work by accident, actually at the recommendation of a professor. I was majoring in business administration and found that this was really my niche, really working with people, building relationships. I always share with Dr. Fleming and anyone that I interact with that my passion is really advocacy. So this work allows me to advocate for employees, for leadership, for organizations, for greatness. So I really, truly enjoy the work that I do on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, as you know, and I don't know how often I share this, but I realized that from before I even knew it was a thing, I've always been forecasting and trending what's happening in work. And I know we'll have conversations sometimes, and my mind is like way 10 years about what we need to be thinking about as it relates to work. And recently I was having a conversation with someone, and I started thinking about that. And so much so, I should say, to the point of me realizing that the future of work has always been my focus. And so when I think about the future of work and I think about a statistic that 90% of people are unfulfilled, I want to start with the fact that unfulfilled doesn't mean they're not happy in their work.
Correct.
What do you say to that?
I agree. Unfulfilled doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good at what you do, that you don't perform at a high level, that you're not impactful. I think unfulfilled really means it's really a deeper look at whether you're living your passions, whether the work that you do is impacting you and how that works. So I see it as kind of the opposite, the mirror effect.
Right.
And so I think, I'm sure we're going to go into the reasons, but I think maybe one of the biggest reasons that I've experienced with employees up to now has been that people haven't explored what their true passions really are, right? So they haven't delved deep enough to figure out, is this really what I enjoy doing?
Right.
Do I really feel like I'm giving 100% in the work that I do? And so I think sometimes that self-exploration will help with that.
And that's a loaded statement. People haven't explored. I got the pleasure, and I love going to Career Day because little people are honest. And it was a 5th grade class, and it's interesting because the last time I got to interact with that particular class, or this particular class, was when they were in 1st grade. And it was interesting to see how they had evolved from 1st grade to 5th grade. In 1st grade, they were completely open, completely just excited about what they wanted to do when they got older. And I saw some of the same kids, and one kid stuck out in my mind both times. And it was so amazing in one way to see this kid, and in another way, it kind of broke my heart. Because when I saw him in 1st grade, he was talking to me about leadership, and he made a very strong statement that leadership is getting people to do what you want them, what you need them to do, or something like that. He said, and not punishing them. And I thought, can you go to work with me?
Exactly.
And help me tell some of these people that. And then when I saw him last week, I asked them, how many of you know what you want to do or be when you grow up? And a lot of hands went up. And then I said, how many of you don't know? And his hand went up, and I thought, wow. And so I asked him, well, how do you feel about that? And he said, I just feel unprepared for my future. And he's just like, he was very expressive about it. And I said, you're actually the person that I want to talk to, because you don't need to figure it out right now. Explore the things that you like. Explore the things that you're great at. Your parents probably aren't going to like that I'm telling you this, but explore those things. Figure out what you're good at. You're 10 years old. You don't have to have it all figured out. And so when you talk about exploring what we love and what we're great at, what does that look like for an adult in the workplace?
Wow, that's a tough one to answer.
Well, let's talk about what did it look like for you?
Okay, that's an easier one to answer. For me, it was really, I had gotten to a point where in my career I had always done really well. I performed. I was elevating in the organization, and I thought everything was fine. You know, I went to work at this time, I produced this, I reached this goal, and so I thought everything was well. But I got to a point where I just wanted more. I wanted more, and I had to figure out how am I going to get that more. So I stumbled a little bit, but I ended up in a coaching relationship. So for some people, you might hear the term life coach or fitness coach or spiritual coach, but I engaged a coach. And through that process, what I didn't, she was the coach that I engaged. Through that process, it was really, I initially, you know, I came to the process thinking, oh, this is just going to help me, you know, fine tune my skill set in terms of work.
Capacity.
Exactly. But the coaching process really impacts the whole person. So what I didn't realize were that there were so many misconceptions or myths or beliefs or values that I carried with me from childhood into adulthood that really formed my decision making.
Right, it does.
It does. Ultimately, it does. And my behaviors as well. And so I started to look at those things. And, you know, some parts of me, you know, I realized that I did things because my parents thought it was appropriate, or my organization thought it was appropriate, or it was the right thing to do.
Right.
So that was really a process where I began to look at myself and say, well, what do you really want to do? What really brings you joy? What, you know, what activities or behaviors or organizations or even work are you going to do that's going to align with those things?
And that, you know, there were several comments to the post that I made, or the, you know, and as I was reading them, one that struck me was, passion doesn't pay the bills. I didn't respond. I just kind of said, well, what if I could tell you that it could?
Right.
So what would you say to that? Passion doesn't pay the bills. Do you agree with that?
I don't. If you had asked me maybe 10 years ago, I might have, to be honest. But what I would say is, why would we assume that it doesn't pay the bills?
Right.
Why not be open to the opportunities that it might?
Right.
It just might.
Are you asking me?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Well, here's what I found, and here's what I truly believe. I think it's because people don't understand how to actually create meaningful work from things they're passionate about. The passion drives the things that you're interested in, and it's not that you're going to do it specifically the way that it may surface for you, but what type of work allows you to pursue and or engage in that passion. And so that's a part of what, you know, my focus is with organizations, and you know, as you shared with them, we worked on, it's like, these are things that you're doing. And so it's all about transferable skills and competencies. And one of the things I saw in work about maybe 10 years ago, job descriptions were very task oriented. And I could, you know, even then, before we started to make the shift in organizations, I knew that that was not going to take us where we needed to go. That was not going to take organizations where they wanted to go, and it was definitely not going to keep employees engaged. And so when we hear these big buzzwords like engagement and being involved, it really is about people doing meaningful work. And it's always been about that. And really, that starts with the organization having a clear understanding of what its purpose is.
Absolutely.
And because organizations are led by leaders, those things take shape based on who's leading at the time. And so that's why there's such a need to focus on what the leader is passionate about and what the leader is purpose for and what the leader is committed to, because it will not manifest differently if we're not clear on those things. And so when I think about what people are passionate about, absolutely you can profit from your passion, because that's where innovative ideas come from. You look at any invention there is that we use, and we're like, and most people will say, well, why didn't I think of that? Well, because we were working in this closed mindset of, I've got to do things this way, I've got to do it that way. I mean, something as simple but as brilliant as Uber.
Right. For people who do not like to drive,
Hello.
like yourself.
Right? But
Amazing
even
invention.
even from the point of the taxi cab. So you already had something, but Uber brings it in a way that the consumer is determining how
Absolutely.
they want transportation to be. And so as we look at this, people are driving how we do business. And if we don't understand that, we're going to miss it. People are going to be unfulfilled, and sometimes that leads to unhappiness, that leads to them not being well, that leads to burnout. By the way, CNN just came out with a report that burnout is an official diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah, that came out yesterday. So, and that's another reason I focus a lot on wellness. And so when we're not well, we're not thinking, we're not producing, we're not doing any of these things. And every single business is in business to do two things: to make a profit and to grow. And anybody that believes there's another reason, that is totally why they're not doing well, because that's why you're there. And you're not going to do well if your people are not engaged. So
I agree.
what do
I
you
agree
do to drive
100%.
engagement? Or can you drive engagement?
As an organization, you can drive engagement, but as you said, I think it starts from leadership up, and everyone has to buy into the fact that engagement is important. So we started the conversation with talking about being fulfilled, and those individuals who are not fulfilled, engagement weans, right? They might be great at their job, they might be good at their job, but they could be great, right? Or they could take something and become more efficient at it, or do something quick, or innovation, comes from being fulfilled at work. So, so engagement is a key metric for many organizations. Gallup has been around for so many years, and really fine-tuned what engagement looks like, or how it should be measured. And I think what some organizations might be surprised at is Gallup, so they have a specific question test, and they've really been fine-tuned. And one of the final questions that they ask is whether or not you have a best friend at work, right?
Oh, that's juicy, because what do we normally say? What's the cliche?
The cliche is you do not, build relationships at work, you don't date at work, you come to work, you leave your personal stuff at the door.
We only have like 10 minutes, Carolyn. You just open up like 7
Oh, the dating?
Right, that's a whole nother can.
Right. So, so those things obviously are important. And so if you think about it, if we really want to be technical, if we look at that one question about do you have a friend at work, or a best friend at work, or do you have a relationship at work, that's the personal. That's that whole person. Right? So we can't, those days of thinking that, you can leave your personal stuff at the door and come in and be, fully effective, maybe you can meet the essential functions, right, of your role, and pass your annual, performance review. But if you really want an engaged workforce, we really need to look at the whole person coming in the door.
Absolutely. And so you bring up a really great point: engagement. And that's a word that we hear thrown around all the time. Everyone's using it. And so the key thing you said was metrics to measure it. And so even though it's something that can be subjective, there really is a way to measure it. Absolutely. And that is by being very clear about what it looks like for you, what it means for you. And so you have to get very specific. And when people use words like that, I say to them, well, what does that look like? How will you know when they're engaged? How will you know when they're not engaged? And so going back to this where we started, unfulfilled, and people being engaged, and people actually being able to, drive the work that they do, that's why we brought them there. And so one of the things that I'm noticing, and I want to speak to, and I know we don't have enough time to talk about it today, but again, about 10 years ago, when I started looking at organizations and how we were really going to move them forward, one of the things was to have an entrepreneurial focus. That doesn't mean that individuals are going to be entrepreneurs, but that meant at that time that we wanted them to think and act like the business was theirs. Absolutely. So we started to create and cultivate this mindset, but then we put a lid on it. And so I was at a dinner maybe last September, and one of the chief executive officers from Walmart was speaking, and she was talking about intrapreneurship. And that was the first time I had heard the term, believe it or not. And so when I thought about intrapreneurship, and I just sat with it for a while. I haven't said much about it. I'm actually writing an article about it for Forbes, and it was just looking at it. And really what it is everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur. Let me just be very clear, because everyone thinks that we're going to go out and start a business. It is not easy. And I'm not saying that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't. But what I'm saying is that is not everybody's path. That is not everybody's passion. And that's definitely not how we continue to grow and create this thing called an ecosystem of work. And so because of that, how do we harness that talent? So everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur, but for the businesses that are wanting to grow and make money, remember that's why we exist, how do you leverage that talent within your organization? Because here's the thing. They're going to start a business anyway, so why not have them start yours, or why not have them help you grow yours, and why not harness that talent and allow there to be entrepreneurs? And so that's the focus of work as we move into the future. How do we really take this talent? How do we really help them learn how to use? First of all, we're talking about individuals with high-level skills and expertise, and how do we take that and channel it to a way where they're doing meaningful work, where they're doing something that they want to do and they love doing it and they're fulfilled doing it, and guess what? It's benefiting the organization.
Right.
That's the future of work.
Right. I would say, so there's a couple things. I think before an organization or a leader even can maximize that potential of that employee, they need to know what that potential is.
Right.
So how do you maximize something or utilize it or even develop that if you don't know what it is, right? So, things like strength-based assessments to really understand your organization and the bench strength that's within it. I think the second thing is I would challenge organizations to do things that are different, not look at other organizations or necessarily best practices, but do things that are low cost and high impact, job enrichment, having conversations with employees about ideas that they have, right? Creating a culture where risk-taking is welcomed, right? Making a mistake is not a bad thing, but it's okay, so now we don't know what works and now we're gonna go to something else. So I think that there's a few things that we can do. A lot of it is, again, low cost and high impact. It's just a matter of shifting how we traditionally think about organizations and how they should function.
Right.
And really starting to look to your employees who are there because they love the organization and the work they do, and seeing what ideas they have about how to impact the organization.
That's awesome. Like I said, we could probably talk about this like for 3 weeks and still have things to talk about. But as we actually bring this segment to a wrap, the last thing you said, I want to say something about that, and then I'm going to, ask you for your final thoughts on it, and then we will kind of take it to wrap. But you talked about people and actually finding out what they like and what they are interested in. And so when I think of that, and when you said that, here's something that I really want us to pay attention to. Yes, we're in the age of acceleration, and we're in an age where technology is really, really, driving a lot of things, and our workforce are digital natives. Yes, that
absolutely.
is where we are, and we're moving away from having people be in an organization for 10 and 15 years, and we're in now what's called the gig economy. And so what that means is that people are coming with a very high level skill, ready to do the work now. So it's almost like on the job training or just in time training. So these things kind of recycle themselves. We've heard all the terms. But that being said, we can no longer look at technology and people as separate. We've got to look at how we leverage technology for the people that will be using it, and how is there an integration, because they're not separate. It's a part of their DNA, if you will. And so as we think of that and as we continue to move forward, I love having conversations and working with organizations such as yours that are thinking not just outside of the box, but are breaking the box, quite frankly, to say what that looks like and what that needs to be. And so as we do that, as we continue to move forward, I just want to thank all of you for watching today and encourage you to figure out what it is. Allow yourself to flow in what it is that you're passionate about. Allow yourself to be driven by that, but not just from a place of, it's a hobby or it's just something I like to do, but think about how you can use those skills, those passions, those things that are fulfilling to you to really channel it in the work you do. So Carolyn, I want to thank you, because this was a really juicy conversation, and I know that there are tons of things we can talk about, but until next time.
Yes, until next time.
Thank you, Miramar.